Hi there, it's Derek from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan. This here is a 1993 Mazda Autozam AZ-1. So this is classified as a K car here in Japan for the ultra small class of vehicles. And this is one of the interesting vehicles that came out in the early 90s in kind of the Japanese bubble era. It has Gullwing doors, mid-engine, 660cc turbocharged, and puts out stock 64 horsepower. So this one was bought from auction here in Japan for export to Canada, actually. A lot of these are being exported to the USA at the moment under the 25-year rule. And so it's nice to see this one is going to Canada, which is my home country. The condition of this one's pretty good with low mileage of only 77,000. It has some blemishes like peeling paint on this door, but the vehicle is, older than 25 years old, and so it's fair for a vehicle to be in not perfect condition. We're seeing prices for these go up. At the moment, a landed one of these in Canada might be somewhere around 10 to 15,000 Canadian dollars. US dollars, that's like 8,000 to 12,000. They're pretty reliable. Interior is pretty good for falling apart and just holding up over time. Driving wise, they're very unique because of how small they are. No power steering, the engine behind, and the engine revs to 9,000 RPM, which is pretty crazy for any engine, let alone something with a turbocharger on it. Here's a tiny little engine here. You can see lots of room in here, actually. And every time we post one of these on YouTube, we get the inevitable comments of, you know what, just throw a Hayabusa engine in there. Sure, you could do that if you want, but these engines, the F6A as they're known, they handle modifications very well, and they're already ready for more boost. It's very easy to get 100 or more horsepower out of these if that's what you wanted. And then if you just keep them in stock condition, they're not going to be super fast, but it's still a very sporty amount of power, and those really, really long gears revving up to 9,000 RPM is just fantastic. Quick look at the profile here, then I'll go over the condition of it. And these are smaller than original Minis, and so to see one of these driving down the streets is really a special feeling, even here in Japan where they almost don't exist anymore. You can get them at auction. They're generally not that difficult to buy, but just expensive. But on the streets here in Japan, you rarely ever see them. I just want to mention too that this was bought from somebody who wanted me to give a shout out for their Instagram. If you want to take a look at this car or whatever, his Instagram is DensMaster3001, which in my mind is a really sweet Instagram handle. Okay, so here I'll quickly translate this for you. 93 AZ-1. This is an auction grade R because it has been in an accident in the rear involving the right rear inner panel and rear panel have been dented. Right rear side member has been dented. Now this seems to be about a 3 or 4 out of 10 in terms of accidents, and it is not a salvage title, if that's what people are wondering. Now because the vehicle is made out of plastic, it doesn't dent. And this one hasn't been scratched, but does have kind of some bad paint. It has the paint peeling I already showed you. I got a van coming. Also, this section here is faded. And there's a little bit of a paint blemish on the hood. That's about it. Now, we've already gone and purchased a different hood for this one, because it comes with 2 different types of hoods. And one of them is a little bit more sporty, and so that hood will be installed on here, and then the vehicle will be shipped out. And so of course we can do that kind of stuff here. We have a number of mechanics that work with us. In this case, we're just going to install it ourselves because it's not really that difficult. Okay, so rest of the condition. So still had registration in Japan. That's a good thing because it means recently somebody has been taking care of it. With these specialty vehicles like this, sometimes you'll find that vehicles are kind of not driven over 5 or 10 plus years and can break down because of that. It's good to keep your vehicles driving regularly. 77,534 kilometers, and that's authentic mileage on this one. It's purchased from user, still has current registration, kilometers in the 70,000s, and it's a 5-speed manual. These never came as automatic, as a matter of fact. And then alloy wheels. The wheels aren't in the best condition, but they kind of suit the look of the car with the red and the Watanabe style 8-spoke. Here's a better look at that peeling paint. Okay, so the dashboard has glue marks on it. You can actually see through here. See those 2 circles? Let's see, there we go. So something was glued on there for a Navi or something, and it can be cleaned off. Wheels scratched and corrosion, and the left side driver's door damper doesn't work. And so these can be rebuilt. There's actually a shop in Vancouver that rebuilds them. And so the door comes up, you can get in, but it'll come back down. And because the doors are kind of heavy, it can make it difficult to get out of this side. And so when you're showing somebody your cool car and you're like, look at the doors, they're so sweet, but then they get trapped inside, that person's going to be like, you did this on purpose. You trapped me in your cool car. It's a bait and switch, isn't it? They're not going to be very impressed by that. And so do get your door struts here fixed. Okay, now this here is the roof. It's a glass roof, and you can take these out like that, or you can leave them in, and then you don't get shined in the face, which is the worst. I'm going to do a quick once around here. It's kind of Ferrari F40 looking, the rear wing like that. They actually had 3 versions of these as concept cars. There was an off-road one, there was one that looks like a mini race car, and there's one that looks very similar to this. And then they only made one of them. In fact, they decided to make none of them. Suzuki did. And then Mazda was like, we'll help you bankroll. We got money. And so this one here is a Mazda AZ-1, but the whole car was basically designed and made by Suzuki. And then Suzuki got their own version of it called the Suzuki Kara. Sadly, it doesn't look like the sweet little race car. You really need to look that up. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's like the AZ-550 Type C or something like that. Because back when it was first made, the 550 was the size of the engine for the regulations for K cars. Shortly after that, changed to 660. Okay, very cool taillights here. The round taillights. You got a place for your air from your engine to come out. The muffler actually looks really cool, kind of half sticking out with the pipe, kind of functional looking. This is cool. You want to open the doors? You open from here, so there are no door handles here. That'll confuse a lot of people. Functional intakes on the side, and then the lock is over here at the front of the door. Very crazy. Now opening the door, this side is a little bit saggy as well. It'll hold the door up, but it's usually easier to open the door than this was. And door mirrors are on the doors, and so if you're thinking about driving around with the doors open, you won't be able to see behind you. Okay, so the seats in here, I love the look of these seats. They're very narrow seats and very small, so they fit a small person much better. I'm 5'10" and can drive around in this no problem. You probably can manage a little bit bigger than that, but not by much. And this is the stock steering wheel on this one, I believe. If you go to a smaller steering wheel, it's easier to fit in, but harder to steer without the power steering. So white face gauges, you can see there 77,570 at the time of shooting this. You can also see the red line at 9,000. You can even rev it higher if you want to remove that red line. Pretty crazy. Pedals are small, a little bit difficult to manage how small they are if you have large feet. That's weird. AZ-1 exciting micro coupe. That it is. I don't think that these mats are stock. And this engine's in a number of other vehicles like the Cappuccino, which was the reason why Suzuki didn't want to make this in the first place. They decided to do the Cappuccino instead of this because it was basically could be sold for the same price and was cheaper to make. Cappuccino is also a fantastic car. Here you can see 1, 2, 3 things on the dashboard. Aftermarket CD player, which the Cappuccino gets, the Beat doesn't, because the Beat has is a similar car like this from Honda. You can check it out if you don't know about it. AC works, has a turbo timer. It feels a little bit clunky to do this, but it's fine. You get used to it. It's actually not even a bad thing. It's notchy and goes directly into gears. I'll show you. getting in can be a little bit difficult. This is how it works. And shifting. Now the car can be a little bit buzzy and yeah, it's not really your great everyday driver, but it is a fantastic car that you're going to get a ton of attention in. That's Hilux pickup coming in. Okay, you get a trunk in the front. It's really tiny, and you can't really consider it a trunk. The back section here that's actually the stock location for the spare tire. It comes in the bag here and is bolted down. And then that's kind of like a trunk there for you. And I'll just quickly show you the front trunk, or you can be like, this is my car like a Ferrari. It's got a front trunk, a frunk. See if we can open this frunk. Yeah, not much room in there. I don't even know if this is meant to have any luggage in it, but it has strut tower braces, and there's one in the front and one in the rear, and that kind of solves a lot of what I don't like about this car is its kind of wobbly chassis. So putting those strut braces in can help tighten that up and make it feel a little bit more engaging when you're driving it. So don't forget to check out Denzel Master 3001 if you want to follow this car in Canada, or just check to see what he's got on his Instagram. I know I want to. And that is going to be the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to be checking out that in just a second here. Alright, so thank you everyone for watching, and have a nice day.